guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. You guys probably didn't notice, but I took a little bit of an unannounced break from YouTube, so it's been a little bit since we posted our last video on here. So I thought I would come back with just a fun, positive, casual one. So I wanted to talk to you today about some of my craziest, wildest writing / publishing dreams and goals. This has been kind of a tag going around in the Authortube community right now. I'm not sure who started this. If I can find them, I'll have them linked down below in the description, but basically all of the Authortubers that I follow now have done it, and I've really enjoyed watching these videos. I think it's fun. So some of my goals are like reasonable things that I think I could achieve in the next year, and some of them are like crazy out there. May never happen, but it's still fun to think about. I would love it if you guys are also writers, if you would leave down below in the comments some of your wildest writing publishing dreams. You could leave me a whole list or just your top one. Tell me if we have any in common. I wrote down a very long list. So, and I also tried to go back to before I started publishing my books, like goals that I would have had then to, you know, remind myself of the things that I've already accomplished. And it was kind of hard to think back to what those goals had been. Quick plug, if you're watching this before November 8th and you use Goodreads, and if you enjoyed my poetry collection, Poems for the End of the World, and you wanted to go to the poetry category and do a write-in vote for my book, I would appreciate it so much. It takes 2 minutes. Just scroll to the bottom of the page and do a write-in vote. But I think that's all I have to say for this intro, so let's just get started. So the first thing I have on my publishing bucket list, this is one of those reasonable ones. I want to hit 100 reviews on Amazon. Reviews for books on the actual vendor sites like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and stuff like that. They're super important for books, but they're also so hard to get because a lot of people just don't review on the sites. They'll review on Goodreads and stuff, which is great too, but it doesn't help the book the way that like Amazon reviews do. So I would love to see one of my books hit 100 reviews. Last time I checked, one was over 75 now, so we're getting close. Small plug, if you've read any of my books and you want to take 2 seconds to go leave a review on Amazon, I'd appreciate it. I'd love to get to 100 for that one that's pretty close before the end of the year. That would be amazing. Apparently now you don't even have to write a review, you can just do the star rating, and I didn't know that. In a similar vein, I would love to hit 1,000 reviews on Goodreads. Again, Goodreads is a lot easier, I think, to get reviews than other places, but I also think Goodreads is the least helpful place for authors to be, so I don't read reviews on Goodreads anymore. But last time I checked, one of my books on there was getting close to 500, I think, so we're like halfway there. But I would love to see one of my books hit 1,000 reviews at some point. Next, I'd love to publish a series that's more than 3 books long, so a longer series. And the day that I'm filming this, I'm not sure when this is going up. It's still October, but next month for NaNoWriMo, I'm starting a new series. I'm writing the first book. So with the way that I've planned this series, it looks like it'll be longer than 3 books. So here's hoping that one works out. I was such a series reader growing up. I loved reading series. I loved getting to spend so much time with characters, and I would just love to write a world and write characters that like I want to spend that much time with, and then hopefully readers will want to spend that much time with. It would also be cool to have like, you know, all of your matching covers and like seeing them all together on a shelf. Like, oh, I love it. I want it so bad. And I also feel like you get more like loyal readers with series because they're more invested in these characters because they've spent a lot of time with them. Like, you still have people who love standalone books and are like diehards about them, but I feel like you find like real connections with readers when you have those characters that they've like really grown attached to, you know? Next, I have turn one of my books into an audiobook. This is actually happening right now. My book, The Anti-Virginity Pact, is currently in production for the audiobook. I'm so excited about it. You guys are gonna love the narrator. I'm obsessed with it. I got to listen to the beginning part of it, and that should be done by the end of this year, if not early next year. So I'm so excited to have my first audiobook. And if you guys have read the book, you know that my main character's family is French, and there's some French in the book, and the narrator actually speaks French, and she has like a French accent for those parts, so it's gonna be so good. I'm gonna do something super cheesy right now. If you've made it this far into the video and you haven't liked it yet, I'd really appreciate it if you would, if you're enjoying this video. And if you're brand new here, you should subscribe and stick around. That's all. Another kind of random one is I would love to be in a book subscription box at some point. There's new ones popping up like every day, so it doesn't even need to be one of the big main ones. I would just love to see my book in a box one day. This one's very specific to me, but if you guys didn't know, in addition to being an indie author, I'm a freelance editor. So I edit other people's books, and that's my full-time job. That's my primary source of income, is my editing. So I would love to get to a point where the money that I make from my own books is equal to my editing income. I love being an editor. It's what I love to do. So honestly, even if my books do get super successful, I don't think I would stop doing that because I genuinely really enjoy it. But to have them be equal would be really cool. Also, the one that we have to include on this list, I feel like it's on everyone's list. It's not something I think it's healthy to focus on, but like who wouldn't like to hit a list like USA Today, New York Times, or the top charts on Amazon? Not something worth focusing on in my opinion, but it would be very cool to do. The next one is I would be so thrilled if I got fan art made for one of my books. I just think that's like the highest form of flattery, is like someone like painted or digitally made like some kind of fan art for my characters for my books. Like that is so freaking cool. Mostly because like I'm not an artist and I cannot create artistic things, so whenever I see someone else do that, like I'm in just complete awe. So if it was something like inspired by one of my books, I would just be so happy. In a similar vein though, I have I didn't know this was on my list until it happened, so this is something that's already happened, is have someone make an like aesthetic mood board for one of my books. Someone did this for the Anti-Virginity Pact. Thank you so much for watching this. It was the coolest freaking thing to see. It made me so happy. I think it's just, you know, this saying is like when you're an author, half of the book is you, but then when you publish it, the readers like fill in the gaps and the book like no longer belongs to you as the author. So I think it's just cool to start seeing readers like their interpretations of it and putting their spin on the book and things like that. So that was very touching. That was really cool. On the self-publishing side, if you're an author, you probably know that getting the BookBub deals, like featured deals, is really hard as an author. You can apply for them and there's just so much competition, it's hard to get approved for those, but it's an excellent marketing thing that you can use to sell your books when they're on sale. So someday I would love to get approved for a BookBub deal. I'd also love to sell 5,000 copies of my books. I feel like that's not a crazy number. I definitely think it's achievable. I'd love to create a box set sometime in the future. I feel like I probably should have said this at the beginning of the video. I have 3 books out currently. My 4th book is coming out spring of 2021. The book that's coming out next year is a companion to the Anti-Virginity Pact, which is out right now. So maybe I'll do a box set of those in the future, or like I was saying, next month I'm starting a new series, so maybe once that series is complete I could do a box set. I don't know, I just think it would be fun to make a box set of my books. Another thing that I think would just be fun to experiment and try is co-writing a book. I don't know how well that would work. I am a control freak. I work for myself for a reason. I like being in charge of everything and doing everything. I feel like I wouldn't be fun to work with. Like I would feel bad for whoever my co-writer ended up being. But down the line, co-writing with someone, I feel like if we were a good fit and we just meshed well creatively, that would be so freaking fun. Because writing can be such like a solitary thing, but if I was just on the same page with someone and we had the same vision for this book, like how much fun would it be to share that experience with another person? I don't know if I'm capable of doing it, but it sounds like it would be fun. The next thing, I want to publish 10 books. Like, can you just imagine holding a stack of 10 books and they're all yours? Again, this is something that I think is super reasonable, something I could definitely do. By spring of next year, I'll have 4 out, so we're almost halfway there already. This one I think may have already happened, but I can't remember. Have a book club read one of my books. I think someone did DM me and tell me that their book club was reading my book, or maybe they were going to read my book. I don't know. If your book club has read my book, please tell me. You'll make my day. I'd love to publish a book in hardcover at some point. That's something I haven't tried yet. My books are currently in ebook and paperback form, and obviously I have an audiobook coming out, but I would like to possibly venture into hardcovers one day and just try it out. I'd love to grow my author newsletter list to 10,000 subscribers. The next one, I'd love to be on a book panel. This was actually something that was in the works for this year before COVID happened, so maybe next year or the year after that. But I think that would just be cool to sit down and be able to chat with some other authors. And I don't know, I have severe social anxiety, so this would be a horrible experience for me, but like something I would be glad that I did later. Oh, next I would love to write a thriller. I have no plans of doing this and switching over to that genre anytime soon, but I got an idea for a thriller a while ago. So not even necessarily to publish the thriller, I just want to write the thriller, and maybe one day it would come out, but not anytime soon. But I want to write it at least try to write it. I think it would be awesome to have a book translated. I get a lot of questions about that every time I have a book coming out, like when is it going to be translated into all of these different languages? It's a whole thing, it's a whole process, and it's definitely not at a place that I'm at right now, but in the future I would love to have a book translated into another language. I think that would be really cool. I think it might be cool to experiment with trying to make some book merch maybe someday. I'd love to have an in-person signing. I currently sell signed copies of my books on my website, but I think it would be just a totally different experience to be able to actually meet people who read and liked the books in person and get to talk to them and stuff. I just think that would be so cool. Obviously not right now, but maybe in a few years. So then I tried to include some on here that were things that would have been goals for me before I started all of this. So obviously 1, publish a book. 2, I really wanted to do a Goodreads giveaway for one of my books, and I did that for Poems for the End of the World, which was really fun. I started my own LLC. Oh, this one is one of my favorites. Write someone's favorite book. And this is actually something that has happened a couple of times now. I've had people reach out to me to tell me that they just read my book. It's their new favorite book. It's one of their new favorites or something. And that is honestly, of all the things on this list, the coolest thing that has happened since I started publishing my books. That is so unexpected, the way that other people connect to your books and just like find them so personal, especially when it's something that's so personal to you. And so seeing the way that some people have connected with my books just like so intensely has been incredibly flattering and touching and just the coolest freaking thing. At this point, I think I've had at least one person tell me that for each of my books so far. So each of my books is at least one person's favorite book, and just thinking about that makes me want to cry. I think it would be cool to have other authors blurb one of my books in the future. And I put this next one as like a tentative item on the list because honestly I don't know if I'll ever do this or even if I want to, but I think it would be interesting to potentially down the line try out hybrid publishing, which if you don't know what that means, it just means you're self-published and traditionally published. So I think if I were to write a book years from now that was in a genre that I think would perform better in traditional publishing versus self-publishing, maybe I would look into that. But as of now, I'm really happy with self-publishing. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. I like the process, but never say never. Maybe sometime in the future that's something I would want to do. Another thing, like this is my #1 like goal. Like when I have a picture in my head, when I visualize what my dream life would be as an author, I picture like a long bookshelf completely filled with my books. Not like a million copies of one of my books, but I have so many books out that it can fill a whole row on a bookshelf. That's what I want. And then I would be that weirdo who has a bookshelf in my home of just my books. Again, on the topic of like hitting lists and stuff, it'd be awesome to get into the top 1,000 on Amazon, which is difficult to do. I don't know if I screenshotted this when it happened. I got kind of close with one of my books. I was in, I think, the 2000s, which was awesome, but I'd love to get into the 1000s. I'd love to go on a writing retreat. I think that would be really fun with some other writers. I just think that would be such a good time. I've been joking a lot lately, and by the time you're watching this, I might actually already be gone. That my parents recently moved to this house in the mountains, and so I keep saying I'm gonna go visit them for a week and have a writing retreat up there and just write, which I am doing the first week of November. For the sake of this list, I want to go on like a writing retreat that's not just going to visit my family. Then I have some more that were goals before I started publishing that I've already made. Like 1, make back the money that I invested into my books within the first month of the book release, which I have done, thankfully. I was a little worried, but it's okay. That's definitely something that makes you feel good. Another thing I did was I made digital download resources for other writers throughout my website. I just started doing that this month as I was preparing for NaNoWriMo. So if you're also a writer and you want some resources, I have a resource library on my website right now. By the time I'm filming this, I have 2 worksheets up. I'm just tweaking the 3rd one and that should be up soon. I currently have one on how to outline and plot your novel. I recently put one up on how to flesh out and just better develop your side characters. And then the 3rd one that I'm working on right now is about world building and stuff. So basically these were just worksheets that I created for myself to help me plan my novel. And I just decided to put them on my website in case other people wanted them. They're free also, I'll have a link down below if you want to grab them. This was probably my biggest goal years ago, was to start a YouTube channel. That's something I always wanted to do. I've watched BookTube and AuthorTube forever, so I always wanted to join the community. I joined back in 2016, and I've mentioned this in a video a while ago in the past, and I think people misunderstood what I meant when I said I wanted to start a YouTube channel to build an author platform. And I think people take that as like a negative thing. I got some comments about it too, about how people thought that meant I made my YouTube channel solely for the purpose of trying to sell my books to the people who watch my videos, which I think is kind of silly considering I had this channel for over 3 years before I ever published a book to even try to sell to you. What I meant by that was I wanted to start a YouTube channel to help build an author platform. Yes, to give my books their best chance and to get myself out there and whatever, but also to, you know, create a community and get to know my readers. And there's so many of you who I've like legitimately gotten to know over the years, and I feel like we have built that. I feel like we have a little community over here. My favorite thing is when I'm doing like live streams and like the people in the chat know each other and are like talking to each other, and they met because of my channel. Like, how freaking cool is that? And then the last one on my list, this is my biggest, like loftiest dream, but when I think about like my dream life, this would be the coolest if I could do this, is to be able to travel when I'm writing. So say I'm writing a book that's set in some like small obscure town in some like random country, to be able to travel to that place and just like stay there while I write the book for researching and just be there. Like, how freaking cool would that be to be able to like travel around to the places where your book is set, to write the book while you're there? Like, I would love to be able to just travel to different places whenever I wanted to write a new book. So that's my list. Those are my craziest, loftiest writing and publishing goals. I'd love to hear about some of yours down below in the comments. If you're also a writer, if you're participating in NaNoWriMo this November, best of luck to you. I hope it goes well. I'm really looking forward to it. If you want to check out those free resources on my website, I'll have it linked down below. There's links to my books down below if you want to check those out, and there's other stuff down there too if you're interested. But other than that, I think I'll just see you guys in my next video very, very soon. Bye.
So hit me. So hit me. So hit me. First a confession. With you I feel a connection. With